Welcome back to another episode of Keoni Chats. So I like to make sure that my first impression is usually my best, just because I want to make sure that if I run into a person down the line that they'll remember me, because I don't know if that's a fear of being forgotten or if that's just a younger sibling syndrome telling me to be the center of attention. But my guest today, he made a very impactful first impression, as he and I are former football players for Sunset High School Apollos. And Josh Makler, he and I were just two quiet guys that grinded out. And whether for me, it didn't matter if you were the top player on the team or if you're just like myself on the special teams. You're a football player, you're a sports player, and that's just huge. It's just such a great moment and such a great feeling to be a part of something with other people. Having that shared camaraderie, having that shared experiences, and being able to not just hold on to it, but just be able to recall it with others way past the finish line. So way past those 4 years, and just being able to know that, hey, we went through this crap together, and now we have this great kinship. So, whether it is sports or whether it's a club or whether it is whatever extracurricular activity, I feel like a lot of people just try to find that shared experience. And that's what COVID has really taken away from everyone, having that shared experience, whether it is, a concert or whether it's bars or whether it's just restaurants. I mean, those last two are opening up, granted, but, I miss those. I miss those shared experiences. And, he and I have that very close relationship because, we've gone through that crap, like I just said, but, he's gone off because at Sunset, he was a baseball player and a football player. Once he left Sunset, he left that football career behind and continued on with his baseball career, playing for the University of Redland Bulldogs, and then subsequently playing for the San Diego Forces. So once he was done with his baseball career, I'm not going to give you the full rundown, but he is currently a part owner of Cove, and that is a hard yerba mate brewing company that he is working very diligently with a couple other folks to get off the ground and get going, because I was honestly so lost. I've never been much into yerba mate, but I knew that this is something Josh is passionate about, so I wanted to get him on my show and talk to him about it and just see how it all came about, and then what his plans are and just where he wants to take the company. So before I send you off to that interview, at the time of this recording, the Oregon area, or Portland, Oregon area, we're in the tail end of a snowstorm, meaning that the snow is starting to melt, sun's starting to come out. And it was weird because I finally got to feel like what everyone else felt when they were, in their lockdowns or just stuck at home and couldn't go out or couldn't go see people. Because during that whole COVID pandemic lockdown, I was actually still in the office. If I wasn't in the office, I would be outside going on long distance runs. So I never really felt that real lockdown emotion. So once the snowstorm really hit and really got into its full force, I currently live on the top of a hill, so that was reason enough for me to stay inside and complete some of these projects that I've been pushing off to the side, as I would try to prioritize this podcast show over them. So my full photo series from the Dylan Vibes photo shoot on MLK Day is now officially available for people to take a look at. Again, my Adobe Photoshop skills are still very much in the beginner stage, so if you just see that it's not that great, it's just going to keep going up from there. So to check out the photos, you will go to keoniconlu.com, KEONICONLU.com, and then it would be, if you actually have your cursor over the Photos tab, you will see the Dylan Vibes MLK photo shoot shadow session that I was part of. So check it out. And also, I am one film away from completing the DC animated movie universe entry, where it just kept getting all the films that I left behind as I was working my way through to 2020. So check that out. And then to be in the loop when not just episode announcements, but those blog entries get announced, or mock drafts, which are coming out. Didn't forget about that. Still working on that. It's just kind of hard to associate which player and then which team would be the best fit, depending on the draft position. As you know, with COVID, a lot of these players, top tier players, they all opted out, and so actually not just top tier players, players all across the board. A good handful of them, they did opt out for the 2020 season and just went off to get into the NFL. So it is a little difficult to try and figure out how these people are going to fit into these teams or fit into these draft positions based on their 2019 game film. So still working on that. Sorry, it's been a little longer, but I at least got some entries filled out because I want to do my selection, player, and then 3 or 4 sentences about why I think that would be a perfect fit there. So that's kind of what's been a little bit of the delay on that. So to keep in the loop when the mock drafts, when the DC animated universe review series comes back at the end of 2021, just follow KC Media on KC Media 13 on both Instagram and Twitter, and then Conlu K Media on Facebook. So check those out, follow, and then check out the show, Keoni Chats, on all podcast platforms. Subscribe, follow. It means a whole lot to me to see that this is actually gaining some traction. Hopefully my consistent episode announcements throughout the week are doing something as far as drawing a little more attention, because I would just release the episode and then kind of forget about it. But then I just also came to the realization that people miss that first entry and then they just never know. So follow us, follow me, KC Media, the KC Media brand, on those handles again. So before I officially send you off to that interview, so last weekend I did post on Instagram, the KC Media 13, that I was able to visit Plant-Based Poppy, located on Belmont in Portland. And they are a vegan soul food restaurant located right next to a vegan Vietnamese restaurant. So we got to try both those locations, and that we, meaning myself and my brother, Vegan Filipino, that's his Instagram handle. So it was delicious. It was different. It was different. It's awesome that they're able to take these traditionally meat option dishes and just make it vegan. And it's such a strong community, the vegan community. So any way that we can also not just support that community, but also be able to be a little healthier with our bodies and be able to put something in different that tastes like something familiar. It's very interesting. So I'm very excited for the next restaurant to try. And I believe it's going to be a Viking restaurant. So the name escapes me, but I'll put that as a little teaser. So however you are listening to this episode on whatever platform you prefer, or if you are watching on YouTube, I hope you enjoy my chat with Josh Makler. My good friend joining me today, Josh Makler, or back in the day we called him JJ Makler, or it's also his social media handles. He's no longer a Pacific Northwest man. He's now in the great CA. How has it been down there for you?
I kind of feel sad hearing you say that. I still have such love for the Pacific Northwest. I'm still probably a fair weathered person and enjoy the cold, or not fair weathered, probably turning into one, which sucks. But I still kind of would rather bundle up than have to endure the heat. But it's nice down here. It's continually kind of learning and getting a little better with the sun. I don't think my skin ever fares well with it in general though, but I kind of actually still see myself eventually getting back up to the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, I mean, do you still have any thick coats or anything like that, or maybe thick pants?
I have a couple thick coats, just so I can remember it, right? I just take them out of my closet and look at them. I don't ever put them on, but
I can just imagine you you just get a thin jacket because it's maybe a night out. You just look and take a minute, like, oh, those are good times.
Yeah. Could have had another layer. Damn.
I could have another layer, but also I will be sweating my ass off. I don't really want that, really.
Exactly. You get a lot of outfit choices, going downhill.
I've actually started to wonder because right as we're recording this, we're like tail end of a 3 day snowstorm. I was like, I really like the sun. I really like the warmth. Am I in the wrong state? And then I was talking to a friend who was in Texas, and he was like, oh, buddy, you enjoy the cool weather and the nice days because if you just come to like somewhere like Texas, it's just gonna blister you to death. I was like,
Oh, the humidity out there, yeah, brutal.
oh, oh. So you and I met on the athletic fields of Sunset football. Do you ever just miss the days where you just run over people? Like, because of your job right now as a business owner, I assume there's a lot of obstacles, and you're just like, what if this obstacle was a person? The ball carrier. I just want to tackle that person.
Yeah, those were fun days. I think we wrestled a little bit too. I don't know if our wrestling careers went too long. I think we did a little bit of that, but yeah, those are fun days. I kind of miss it. There's always a lot to think about and deal with, and I'm always coming home from working and kind of still working and having it on my mind. I guess those were simpler times, and I still remember a few moments from the football career where it was like kind of I probably honestly I like remember moments where I wasn't really thinking about anything and having great games in it, and probably got concussed during the game at those points. That'll happen, right? But yeah, I miss it. Football was a fun time. I tried my hand at quarterback a few times as a third string backup. They said, hey, you can throw a ball, or just throw a ball here. I was like, cool, that's going to be a little bit easier time practicing.
Yeah, I wonder if they just like knew that you did baseball for the school also. So
Oh,
like,
that was it. Exactly. They were like, hey, you can be our backup quarterback. I think we had a whole string of like quarterback injuries on the varsity team. So they took all the other quarterbacks up to varsity. And then I ended up actually playing a game as the third string backup, which was pretty crazy. But I think they just had me run the ball every time. Or yeah, I just had me handed off the whole time. So
yeah, it's like, okay, we aren't 100% sure about your throwing power, so let's just keep the dink and dunks and maybe just run the ball because
yeah, I
you
don't think we won that game.
because you were a receiver back in the day, right?
I played a little receiver. I think I probably had a little better time playing on defense, so I played a little cornerback. That was probably where I fit in better. I think they tried me at safety one game, and I don't think I ever grasped the concept of, oh, I get the rest of the field. So that's me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, oh, I'm supposed to be there. Oh,
Oh, oh, there's a guy behind me. That's it.
I know. I remember just having the hardest time trying to like. I think I was just lazy. I don't know if you have these moments where you just think like, if I just had a better work ethic, I wonder where I'd be like as far as sports is concerned. Because I was just like, I just wanted to be on the field because my brother did football all of his career in high school, so it's like, you know, I should be doing that too. I didn't really fully commit to it. Do you ever like think about that?
I feel like I put the commitment. I don't think I probably put the commitment into football. I don't know if based on just my genetics, I don't think I ever would have maybe got to that point. Kind of the same thing that maybe I almost think in baseball. I put a lot of work into baseball too, which was pretty crazy. But like I always kind of was like, maybe genetics never wanted to get me there. But we'll see. It was worth a shot, right?
Because I know height wise, you and I were like, I think you were a little taller than me. So I'm like 5'7", 5'8".
Yeah, I'm like just under a couple inches under 6 foot. So just
Yeah,
right there. We always wish we just want those extra inches. Get a little, high heeled shoes now, right?
exactly. And then there are times like I think when I was in college and I was like in pretty good shape, I was like, if only I was taller. Because for me, it's like you either got to be big and strong or you got to be short and fast. I was like, I wasn't fast. I was like, oh man, if only, if only, if only,
If only.
if only. But you had a pretty good baseball career leaving Sunset. Right? You went to University of Redland, and then is San Diego Force? Is that a minor league team, right? Or what is their
It's kind
story?
of like a semi-professional college summer league team.
Okay.
But we played a lot of fun kind of like almost professional tournaments, and so that was probably where I actually had some of the most success in my baseball career. Being one of the kind of the top pitchers for them for a while. That was kind of actually how it brought me down to San Diego, because I came and played baseball after season every year in the summer. So I ended up living with a lot of cool families out here who I made, a lot of great connections, who are still some of my friends today, which is pretty awesome. But, baseball was a fun time. I think I still might, I probably don't. I think someone might have also thrown a no-hitter. I think I still might be the only one to hold a no-hitter at Redlands as just a solo. They threw one as a team once, back in the day, but I think as a solo pitcher, I still might be the only one, but someone might have did it since I graduated. So I'd probably have to fact check that a little bit. But yeah, that was actually, I call that my Michael Jordan sick game. I probably like I felt like I probably had COVID back then. It was a really bad day and game for
Uh,
me, but somehow it worked out of nowhere.
for those that don't know about the story, because so it came out in The Last Dance where Michael Jordan ate some pizza when he was on the road, and then he apparently was making the accusation that the chef of the pizza was poisoned him because he knew it was for Jordan. He's like, I'm trying to make sure you lose. So it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. It was a big controversy, but yeah, hey man, you made it though. You made it through. You survived.
Oh, we survived. It was a good career. I had a lot of fun. I can't tried to throw a baseball recently. My arm really hurts. Still try. We give it a shot every now and then. I ended up coaching a little bit baseball down here in San Diego, just as I was kind of doing a lot of different odd jobs and kind of getting my career, which was a good time as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think the biggest thing I kind of learned from it, and I guess just from being an athlete and doing sports, was work ethic. And I can say kind of the same thing. I'd say me going through college, I probably learned, and it's sad to say this, I probably learned a little more about like starting a business and working hard at it through the athletic side of things than I did the school part. And so it's always kind of a blessing for me to go through all that.
Yeah, because actually, before we dive into that, first, what is your PR record for like your fastball?
I think I was top, and I think at one point and really hot game in the summer, I was probably hitting like 88 to 89. I probably had like a fleeting 90-mile-an-hour fastball, a whimsical notion of it, but who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe it didn't get clocked.
It's like, oh man, the guy just had it down for that 1 second or that one pitch.
Yeah, I was more of a finesse kind of throw a changeup guy, throw a cutter. I honestly did not use a fastball that much. It was more of just a show pitch. I'd throw a changeup that would fall away, a cutter that would fall in, and kind of just really just play off those. And then every once in a while, you can get them, kind of on their heels, thinking off speed, and you just throw a little fastball, and then there you go.
So baseball's a
Yeah.
very methodical game. It's more than just what people see on TV of just throw.
Exactly. And I always had a kind of a funky baseball delivery, so that kind of threw people off a little bit too. I always had a little like hitch in my windup.
So you were the version of a southpaw in baseball, because southpaw in football, it's the left-handed quarterback. So
Oh yeah, I was the typical southpaw, really really weird and funky, and people get up to the plate and they're like, oh damn, this is gonna be weird.
parents wise, were one of them big into baseball, or is just something you just picked up on your own?
My mom's father was a pitcher at Oregon State, so that's kind of how I got into everything. I kind of started all, and they really pushed me to do it. There's a big Oregon State-Oregon rivalry between my family, but that's kind of how I got into it.
Now, you didn't end up going to Oregon State. Correct? You did go to Oregon State, or you did not?
No,
No. You went to University of Redland.
exactly.
That's
Yeah,
right.
just
That's
full time
right.
at Redlands. I always wish that I could have gotten in and played baseball at a D1 level, but it was nice to go to a D3 school where there was a lot of focus on academics too, and also the athletics as well. And it was also a great time there. It's a little bit of a party school too, and it's so small, and it was like, I don't know how people this little people here could party this much, which was really interesting.
Where is University of Redland? Like, where would you, if you could throw it on, like, what state is it in, and then what is it close to, like, as far as big city wise?
I would take, if you're taking the 10 East from LA,
Okay.
you're going, so, it's 2 hours to Palm Springs, it's 1 hour to Redlands. So right in between. Yeah, it's right in Riverside County, right at the base of Big Bear. Really, really awesome town. It's, I loved being there. It's where I kind of even kind of got the love for like the whole craft beer scene, and even like, the whole fermented product scene was out in Redlands at Hangar 24, which is kind of a popular brewery known in the US as well.
Okay. So then earlier, before we went on this little tangent about your baseball career, you said that you developed these great characteristics from athletics, as far as your great work. Just great work ethic. Now, with football being scrutinized at a young age because of concussions, like we talked about, if you were to have kids down the line, which would you want them to do, football, or would you want them to do baseball? This is kind of, very hard question to answer, because, you're not a parent yet, but I'm not either. But what would you want them to do?
Canelo threw her hands up no at football, but I'd probably honestly I'd give them the choice. I love all sports. I'd kind of want them to try them all out, and I also kind of believe, and I think a lot of people say this is the idea of building an athlete rather than building like a one sport kind of player. It's like if you can get someone that can kind of try everything, build the skills that develop everything, that's going to help you out once you make the choice of where to go in the one sport, right?
Mhm.
So, me doing football, wrestling, and baseball, I think in high school obviously made me a little more athletic than just, sticking to baseball and, kind of just understanding how to, function in those ways. So
Yeah.
I'd probably let them do a little bit of everything, and hopefully they graft towards something I'm a little more passionate about, like baseball or
I know it's I thought about this because down the line I want to have kids because I like passing down knowledge and youth and whatnot. Now passing down knowledge and experience. And I was like, if it came to sports, yeah, if they chose football, I'd be like, awesome. If they chose soccer, I'll be like, okay, all right. That's cool too. I mean, you're being active. That's all I can care for.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you are currently a business owner, which, just what kind of, first off, what was your like, holy crap moment? This is a real thing happening for you, because you've jumped around a little bit as far as your work is concerned. Because did you start June Sunshine back in 2017? You were the former co-founder, correct?
June Shine, yeah.
June Shine.
So I guess just I'll just give a little layout of what I've done in my kind of career, I guess, in this industry, which has been a little bit of back of house making products and also serving products. I ended when I was playing my last year for the Force in 2015. I ended up getting a kind of like jack of all trades hands job at a brewery called Novo Brazil down here, which was a bunch of Brazilians that wanted to come to America and kind of open a brewery and showcase their their brewing styles and their brewery stuff and do it in San Diego. So I started that, was a keg washer, a delivery driver, a bartender, really just did a little bit of everything for them. They were a little bit at the time kind of a shoddy operation and kind of how they were handling things. And so I was doing that. And then I was also working at a restaurant called the Brew Project. And there I started as a busser, which was, I honestly came out of college, not really knowing what I wanted to do. So I ended up getting into the restaurant industry and the brewing industry just, to try things out and go through it. And so doing those two, I actually ended up working at the Brew Project for 3+ years and doing pretty much every single job there. And at the end of when I was there, I was managing the bar and bartending. So got about, a year to 2 years of bartending and management experience under my belt, which was awesome. Helped me kind of learn a lot of, things on those sides, and also, I guess, managing people in that environment, which was awesome. But that was it was really kind of like part-time the whole time until I really got the manager experience at the end. So but yeah, after I left Novo Brazil, I was still working part-time in this bar, and then I ended up actually going to Boochcraft hard kombucha, which was kind of the first of its kind hard kombucha here in Southern California. And they were, I kind of got that assistant brewer job, worked with them. And what was cool is, we kind of didn't, even me and one of the co-founders was very, very new to kind of the high equipment type brewing. I had done a bunch of home brewing and, other type of fermentation stuff in college, but never really got a handle onto getting into the large scale, equipment type stuff and brewing. And, we actually kind of got to learn that stuff together. And so I worked almost 2 years at Boochcraft working with them, ended up kind of leading their brewing operations in the brewery. And just being kind of a one-man show at that place until they needed to start getting, bigger and start hiring more people because they were blowing up a little bit. And so I, worked there for 2 years. I ended up realizing at that point, I was kind of like, I kind of want to go brew some more beer, get back into that. I actually went back to Novo Brazil and started brewing beer with them and doing some other fun projects. And they had kind of turned the corner and turned things around a little bit in their operations. So that was a cool thing to see. I got to brew a little beer, understand the brew house a little more, and do a little more of that. And it was that point where I actually was so kind of shying away from Nova Brazil, started managing the bar a little more and doing that full time when I actually kind of met my and made a online LinkedIn connections to my partners of Juneshine, which was pretty rad. So at that point, they kind of reached out with the idea to do hard kombucha and, do it well, and had a crazy plan to do it. And they were like, well, we need someone to make it. So they brought me on and kind of had me to be the developer of the products. And, I was actually brewing the products in a garage in the middle of North Park, San Diego, which was a pretty funny story. We literally had an alleyway and that we were brewing out of. And, so even how the name, came to be, it was like, someone's like, what are you guys doing in there? Brewing moonshine? We're like, no, it's Juneshine. Because we were making Jun kombucha, which is a honey-based kombucha. So that was kind of it was a fun startup story for that. But yeah, I worked and pretty much ran as the brewmaster and director of brewing operations in like the kind of research and development stages for Juneshine for almost up to about 3 years, or no, like, yeah, 2 and something years, to at the point where the company grew really, really big and got super, super awesome. But, it kind of grew in the way that it wasn't really feeling right for me. And so I kind of was looking at decisions of trying to find a little something else that I could do. So.
Okay. So you said a few things. So going back a little bit to when you were playing for the San Diego Force, when you got into the alcohol business, I feel like that's such a tension getter, because everyone over 21 or even some people illegally still drink alcohol. So for you to get into that industry and be at that, being working at, like, let's say as a bus boy, or just kind of doing the nitty gritty stuff, did you ever get any attention from San Diego Force fans? Be like, oh, that's Josh Makler. Oh, it's Josh Makler. Did that ever happen to you?
No, I don't know if we had too many fans. I don't, like for the Force, we played at such interesting fields and stuff. I mean, we had a lot of like scouts that would come out and see everything, but I don't think it was ever like really like a big thing in like fan wise. It was a lot of fun. I still know some of the people and keep in contact with some of the coaches, which will reach out and I'll send them some products, but otherwise it hasn't really followed me too far in my career.
Okay. That's just like I was thinking. I was like, I mean, that's gotta be, if that were to happen, that just sounds like a great experience for you, because baseball is such a huge part of your life, with, not just what you did in college, San Diego Forest, and then you also were an instructor at the Frozen Ropes training facility. You've done some stuff. You've been helping the sport grow in different kinds of ways. So hopefully someday that happens. I'm rooting for that moment.
Maybe one day, exactly. Someone notice me if we can blow up the new venture big enough. We'll see.
I'll just come in disguise and I'll just be like, it's Josh Makler. Didn't you play football at Sunset High School?
Exactly. That's what I need. I'll pay you $100 per comment.
Okay. All right. I'll come in every 2 hours. So being able to kind of start from the bottom, as the great and wise Drake would say, start from the bottom. Now you're here pretty high up. It's such a grind to just go from going into a business where you don't know much and just bussing tables and just hearing conversations, and then working your way up to the brewmasters and then all the way to management. Now that's got to be a little bit of exhaustion, because it is tiring, but how rewarding was that to make that kind of progression in this field that you're starting to kind of capture more of your attention?
It was pretty awesome. I can say I worked pretty hard to get here too, and tirelessly. It's to a factor of maybe working too hard and, almost always having to realize like, hey, there's some times where you don't have to be working, which is good, but it feels good. I'm stoked to get here. It really came to a point at Juneshine where I realized, I was one of the, kind of founding members of the team there, but I didn't really have the final say of things. And so I got to the point there where it was kind of like, I was just looking to kind of get that next step and kind of direct some of my own visions in the kind of industry. So it feels really good to finally get to this point and kind of be, work with my partners and my team right now, and, kind of like be able to work together all on making these big level decisions. So it's awesome, but I feel like I did work pretty hard. I also feel like there was a lot of luck involved with me also kind of getting in the right points of these like startup hard kombucha companies, which is crazy to think. I'm like, I was like going to be a beer brewer, and then I ended up just making hard kombucha and pretty much being a part of, two of the largest hard kombucha producers in the world now, who are going to pretty much, have pretty much developed that category of alcohol. And so it feels pretty good.
Keoni Chats is proudly sponsored by Vibes Training. So if you are not ready to go out into the gyms yet, or you are a little weary about running outside because of either A, the weather, or B, trying to avoid being around people that are also walking or also running, there is a way for you to get your heart rate up and get a sweat going without leaving your house. So I understand there are plenty of apps out there, but there's no app like this. Vibes Training, just go to vibestraining.com, click on the blue button, and get registered to be part of a community that believes in fitness and an instructor that is just as enthusiastic as ever. Dylan Vibes is a former guest and a good friend of the show. So Dylan took his professional training certification and all of his training to his own company, and he is off creating interesting workouts that can range from 5 to 60 minutes. Equipment needed could go from nothing maybe some bands, some dumbbells, and he is including a whole backpack workout series. I have 3 backpacks within eyesight, so I could easily be a part of that workout because he's trying to make it so it's easier for everyone to get a workout in with everyday items, and that is huge because not everyone can buy dumbbells, not everyone can buy barbells, or not everyone can get bands. So trying to find ways to do just any kind of workout with just nothing or just with everyday items I think it's pretty awesome. So check it out, vibestraining.com, hit the blue button, and then once you are registered, you will download the app, and then that will be that's the place where you keep all your progress. That's the place where you can make sure that you are continuing to make the growth that you need to get into that physical form that you want to be in. So check it out today and get Vibes Training fit.
So you were home brewing. Do you have any? Was it okay? Because for some reason I'm thinking The Simpsons when Homer was brewing beer in his basement, and then I think maybe there's an explosion or something like that. Did you have any close calls like that when you were brewing your beer? I don't assume so, but who knows?
Luckily, I haven't any accidents or close calls, and I honestly haven't had any accidents in a commercial brewing setting too, which I'm pretty stoked on. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty rad too. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, honestly. When you're dealing with 180 to 210 degree water boiling. Yeah, I'm lucky that way.
What was the name of your home brew that you would be making during college? Did you have a name?
I don't remember. I don't think I did have a name.
You just like, hey, here's beer.
I made a bunch of really oxidized, really strong double IPAs. Like that's what I was brewing, and I don't think they were very good, but at least I was trying. I don't remember them from at all.
Is it kind of nerve-wracking to give that to people to try?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at that point, I think what was interesting is they're just like with the people I was giving it to, I don't think we even had the education on beer that that any of us would have now, maybe. Yeah. So it really wasn't back then. It was like, hey, I got alcohol here, let's drink it.
Oh, those University of Redlanders, right?
Exactly.
Redland. What's their mascot name, by the way?
Oh, they're Bulldogs.
Bulldogs? Oh, those Bulldogs.
All those Bulldogs.
Oh, those Bulldogs. So now, when it came to social media, looking up your stuff about you and just trying to get all this put together, I've also noticed a little bit of a trend when it came to those photos of people near those giant vats of beer being brewed. They're very artistic and they're very much facial hair driven. Now, does those kind of photos, are you like, I want to take photo, obviously like documenting the process, document some behind the scenes is important when it comes to, starting up your own industry. Were you like, I don't want to have this kind of trend that I'm seeing, or are you just like, I'm okay with, posting a picture of me sitting on this ladder with beer and a mustache?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. There is a little bit of like a facial hair trend in brewing. I don't know why. I think it's that big kind of burlesque, brewing type thing that has been portrayed in the past. I don't think that should be emulated in the future. I actually don't usually have this much facial hair. I usually cut it down, and I'll usually rock a mustache, just because I used to dye my mustache in college just so it looked kind of funny on the mound. Yeah, I would go get the just black, the jet black just for men, and just shave everything off of a jet black mustache, and people would be like, "Well, this is absurd. Let's just add another lure." But I don't I actually maybe a little bit don't like the whole facial hair, brewing thing, because I think it kind of portrays this kind of burly attitude of like, oh, this is who has to drink beer. I
Mhm.
think there's beer for everyone, and I think there's products for everyone too, and I think it's good. That's why I haven't shied away from brewing these, the hard kombucha products, hard seltzer products, and now my hard yerba mate. I think people are starting to realize, that the whole masculinity thing in beer isn't correct too. And that, even like the femininity thing of hard kombucha shouldn't be correct either, or, hard seltzer, right? Like people should enjoy what they like. People should, brew what they like. And, honestly, overall, I think I see more of a trend of people going away from beer just because of the heaviness and, the amount of protein and gluten that, people have been drinking and ingestion. It actually kind of messes with your stomach biome a little, and so they
Mm.
start to be like, oh, what can make me feel a little bit better when I drink it, or the next day it's not going to be as heavy on me. And so I mean, that's kind of the rise of White Claw, right?
Yeah.
Seen it, everybody's seen it. We
That's
can drink
true.
20 White Claws and feel okay. Drink 20 Bud Lights, you're going to feel a little bit worse.
Yeah. And plus all these celebrities, like you hear, let's say this guy gets beefed up for the Marvel movie. He cut out alcohol altogether. So it's like obviously, yeah, beer is a giant contributor to why some of Americans are a little heavier. So
Exactly. And I mean, that's why everybody's brewing these different products now, just like getting rid of the protein and gluten stuff, and that's where we're getting to.
that's what we're getting to. And
Yeah.
I would admit I did partake in some White Claw. I won't deny that because I was like curious, and also during that time when it did come out last year or a year ago, or 2 years ago, I was like, oh, I'm trying to also like, yeah, the same mindset. Like I see on this label, it has 0 calories or zero sugar or whatnot. This could be nice. This could be good. I feel pretty good about myself drinking this, and then it's it just felt weird. I was like,
Yeah,
I don't know. This over.
I've been calling hard seltzer kind of just like empty alcohol, because I mean, it's a good choice, right? If you're making the choice for a better for you feeling, it's a good choice. But for me, I have problems with the some of the transparency and ingredients that they're using, which is I mean, everybody knows what natural, well, actually nobody knows what natural flavors are nowadays, but natural flavors aren't necessarily natural flavors, and that's kind of the issue I come to with some products, and where I've gotten to in my brewing experiences, is a natural flavor which is added to flavor a White Claw doesn't have to be the flavoring it lists, right? So if it's
Mm.
a pineapple natural flavoring, you have a pineapple White Claw. I don't know if they have that flavor, but if
Yet,
it's if
yet,
it's
this could be the part like this could be the seed that gets it going.
if it's a pineapple natural flavor, that just means that the flavoring came from a natural source. So
Mm.
if you found a natural rock on the side of a road and you found that there was a pineapple flavor in it, well, yeah, that they could have extracted that and used that to make their pineapple White Claw. So
Hmm.
those are kind of the issues I have with the whole hard seltzer movement. And kind of we'll get into more depth on that, about Covey and kind of why we do that, and also Juneshine as well. But it's some of like the kind of transparency issues in the alcohol market, which we've been working on these products to try to combat and take over.
Is so other than this, is there beef between is there any like conflicts between these like hard yerba mates and hard seltzers, or is like between the beers or the wines? Is there any kind of beef?
I think there's internal beef out there. I don't think there should be. I kind of there was kind of a history of it's really cool to see beer become really collaborative nowadays, which has happened, and so I'd really like to see all these other products become really collaborative as well. I think what happens is why you kind of have a little beef and non-collaboration is because everybody's starting off and trying to like take the market. Like, oh, we're going to be the ones to get the biggest and the one, so we don't want to share any information. That's kind of been the opposite of how I've always wanted to operate. And I don't know if anybody's ever liked that I want to do that, because I've always been one to want to educate and share and understand. I've actually post my June shine before I launched Cove. I was doing a lot of consulting and helping a lot of other like hard kombucha brewers and hard seltzer makers try to like kind of launch their products and figure out, oh, what do we need to do this? And that was something that was close to my heart, because I was like, yeah, I can share this info. And I'm helping someone in New Zealand still. I was helping someone in Great Britain. There's some other people in the US that I've helped as well. And it's just, I'm more of a love to share and collaborate. So, I eventually hope to, collaborate with all of my former, kind of brewing mentors and, other companies that I've worked with Cove as well. So I think, eventually it's going to come just as beers become really collaborative, but it just, it gets a little dicey when everybody's, trying to start up and take the market and grow, and, there's a space, but, they're all trying to do it at the same time. So I think eventually it'll get a little nicer. We'll see.
So before I got this podcast journey started, there was a guy at my work who has a podcast also. So, shout out, little plug for him. It's Black Bulb Creative. I listened to one of his episodes. He mentioned that, so for his podcast, actually, let me rewind, he focuses more on the art side. So like the Portland artists and maybe some Portland musicians. And then, I was listening to one of his episodes where he said that a guy would reach out to him and be like, hey, how do you draw like this? And then he would be happy to show him and like, hey, this is actually the brush you want to buy. But, he can provide the knowledge, but it's up to that person to execute it. So it's like, you're not showing him every single thing and then he's going to replicate you word for word. It's like, you're going to share your knowledge, but it's up to him how he's going to, or her, on how that's going to be processed and how they're going to execute within their own thing. So I see that. I see what your point.
100%. I mean, like in San Diego, there are probably like 160, 180 breweries in the county now. That might be just beer. I think it probably is the other ones too. But like, everyone stemmed from one place, right? Everybody stemmed from learning from, the original big ones, right? Like down here, we have Ballast Point, you have Stone Brewing, Karl Strauss. Everybody stemmed from these larger places. And then they came and they took that knowledge, so every single thing, it's hard to say that brewing beer is proprietary and all that, it's like everybody learned all this from other places, but how are they going to take it and make it their own, right? How are they going to make the twists and make it taste like they want to taste too? So
yeah. So when it came to learning about this industry, I had the question in my head. It kind of escaped for a little bit. So when it came to learning this industry, what was the most surprising fact that you learned about, and it still kind of shocks you to this day when it comes to the alcohol industry?
It's probably the toughness of dealing with the consistency of the drinking, and that's a whole thing, right? It's kind of learning about, you may have events every day of the week to show up to, you may have parties and things, and it's become, honestly, I've learned in my life, is becoming a control of drinking and not becoming an alcoholic. You're essentially working in a business where it's common to have a business lunch and drink a couple beers during lunch, which like not every business is doing that. That's just because you're literally like, you're tasting product, you're tasting when you're brewing it. And so that's been probably the toughest and hardest challenge learning throughout, is just an aspect of control and understanding how to understand alcohol in a positive way. Because I think, there's a lot of negative around alcohol, and obviously because, it's considered a drug, it's considered a depressant, but I believe there's a better way to understand alcohol and to, work with it and to drink it and enjoy it, and that comes from everybody's personal understanding. But I think it also comes from, working with products like I've been doing as well, such as, hard seltzers and hard kombuchas, which are looking towards those more, kind of active, better for you lifestyles, right? We call all these alcohols that are making that, I don't call them healthy, actually not legally allowed to say they're healthy. I can't say hard kombucha is healthy because it has probiotics, because it's still alcohol and it's not healthy. But there is the whole idea of you're making a better for you choice, right? And that's kind of where this movement comes. And I think that also falls into the line of making it better for your choice in, how you're drinking alcohol, right? If you're just drinking alcohol to, forget everything away, or are you drinking it to have a positive social and cultural interaction? So
Yeah. And as far as marketing is concerned, is it pronounced Cove, right?
Cove, yeah, exactly.
Cove. When it comes to marketing for Cove, I've only seen some posts on social media. So obviously I haven't seen you guys on TV yet, but could happen.
Maybe we'll buy a commercial one day.
Super Bowl, right? Just buy the next Super Bowl.
Maybe.
So when it comes to marketing for your products, how much of wording do you think about? Because you can't say healthy. So is it just go out and just say exactly what it is, or you just let's make sure people feel good about these new choices?
Yeah, for us, we actually, and we haven't gone too hard with Cove into the whole better for you movement. I mean, the idea of what we're doing too is, so Cove is a hard yerba mate, right? It actually, yerba mate is an alternative to coffee with a lot of caffeine. I actually brew a hard yerba mate that has a very low amount of caffeine, which I'm pretty stoked on. So it kind of drinks similar to like a hard seltzer, hard kombucha. But kind of on that point, we kind of, dive into the lifestyle aspect, which is like, let's, drink these awesome functional alcohols and have a good time doing it, but we honestly don't touch too much on the healthy aspect, just because we're not, being a hard kombucha, we're not dealing with the probiotic and all those other claims on it. I honestly think we probably could dive a little more into it. Like you can do a lot of marketing that says, oh, it's going to, be better for you the next day. You're not going to have as much as a hangover. We haven't really done any of that just because, we haven't, we're actually a pretty small team, and we're not maybe versed to back up and refute all the claims yet. So eventually we'll be able to, dive a little more into marketing that can kind of thread the line a little bit. But at the current moment, we're kind of trying to just, showcase that we have a really good product. We like the taste. We brew it really transparently. We use great ingredients, completely organic, gluten-free, vegan. And, we just think that once people try it, they're going to love it. And that's the whole thing, like we're being conscious about what we brew. We're not diving into like, oh, it's the best for you, like this is better. But, like eventually we might get a little more once we build up more of a marketing team.
So I believe it's with every scary movie, it's like based on true story, or they say that for almost like every single scary movie I've seen, or they're like the number one movie in America. So you're trying to avoid those commonly used words, and I can see you trying to be a little more direct with the audience and just be like, it's a hard thing. It's not the best thing in the world. It's a hard thing. It's gonna be fun.
Exactly. And I always take a lot of like the rhetoric speak on it from the what is it, the movie Bull Durham. I don't know if you've seen Bull Durham, way back in the day. It's a baseball movie, Kevin Costner and God, I'm gonna forget the other guy's name. But it's kind of a Nuke Lelouch, whatever his character is. I forget his name, the actor, but it's kind of like the way that they're taught to like do interviews, which is a lot of God, I'm gonna forget this. It's a lot of sayings like, it is what it is. Some days you get it, some days you don't. It's kind of a lot of that. You got to kind of flirt the lines, but I guess sometimes you never really say anything.
Yeah. So I'm a New England Patriot fan. So obviously Bill Belichick is very much known for just not saying anything, but saying something.
Exactly. Every dog gets its bone, that's what they say. And you're like, wait, what do you mean? Yeah.
I remember after a loss, Bill, one of the reporters asked, Bill, you're wearing 2 masks. Is it because your players have, caught COVID? He's like, nope, I'm just doing it because I was told to do it. I was like, exactly. Fair.
Yeah. And that's personally kind of how I would probably get more in depth on our product and be able to say all the properties. I just, personally don't like to get that in depth. It gets a little wordy and I start to thread those lines of like the legal issues. So, our marketing's a little better at making sure we're, being super valued in what we're saying and making sure, like we're portraying this perfect lifestyle that we want to, showcase. But for me, it's like, I have to kind of keep myself a little bit more, I guess, contained on those things, maybe a little more Bill Belichick-ish.
By the way, if you need someone to test your stuff and then really give you a full analysis of how you feel the next day, hit me up.
I already put a note. I'm sending you a box after this interview.
Oh, well, I just spoiled the surprise.
So
Great.
we'll do a little plug that we are doing direct to consumer shipping up into Oregon. So anybody who's listening up there will be able to ship online to all of you guys.
Oh, all right. There we go. I listened to a bunch of podcasts to try to like get an idea of how it should go. And then I always see these plugs and I'm just like, I've never been able to actually like do a professional This is a professional plug. All right. I feel good, man. Feel good.
Exactly. I'm gonna look for our discount codes that we have for our DTC so I can throw them into the podcast. So anybody who actually listens can actually use the code, right?
If you've made it this far in the episode and you're wanting to try this hard yerba mate that we've spent this whole episode talking about so far, you're in luck because Covey is now a proud sponsor of the Keoni Chats podcast show. So viewers or listeners, go to hardyerba.mate.com. Use a discount code when you're checking out of Keoni Chats Covey, KeoniChatskove for 25% off your total order. So each order comes in a pack of 12, and the most recent flavors they came out with was the mango colada and the mojito. I love me a good mojito. Just the freshness, the little mintiness. Whew. Just makes me want to have some right now. So at the time of this recording, I have not tried any of Josh Makler's products, but I'm very excited to just really dive into this yerba mate industry that I have seen, but it just never crossed my mind to try. So as a coffee drinker, and knowing that yerba mate can provide the same amount of caffeine as a coffee, but without the coffee taste, I'm very excited. It's gonna be fun. And it's going to be a great experience to try new drinks also, because beer can be very heavy, but nothing like a good yerba mate with a little bit of alcohol to really make you think about trying to slim up a little bit, or just try to slim up but still have some fun. So again, go to hardyerba.mate.com. Use the discount code Keoni Chats Cove, KeoniChatskove for 25% off your order. And please, please, please drink responsibly.
So June Sunshine, you were a part of that team until about 2019, and then following 2020, like February, Marchish, COVID happened. So obviously all the things you kind of got used to operating as a part of June Sunshine, you can't do anymore. How has it been running Cove with COVID? Like that just kind of mashed together also.
Yeah. Left June Shine in December of 2019, and then was doing a bunch of odd jobs. I actually entered and worked with Thorn Brewing Co. down here. I got just during the midtime while I was kind of figuring out what I want to do. I was working a restaurant job as well, like right before COVID, kind of doing that. So I got a fine dining waiter job just for fun, which was actually really exciting. It was at the Wine Vault and Bistro down here. It's like a course dinner place. That was one of the funnest restaurant jobs I've had in my life. I got to dress up in fancy, white and black attire. I got to serve people course meals and have a whole wine tasting every single dinner.
Canelo must be fluttering over here.
Exactly. So I did that. And then I was doing, working for Thorn Brewing Co. in San Diego, and actually just helping them kind of learn a little bit of alternative products, hard seltzer, hard kombucha type stuff, and doing that. And then, the whole pandemic hit. So both those jobs kind of halted. And that's when me and my, one of my partners, Alex Montalbano, who's been a good friend of mine, used to be, my general manager at the Brew Project bar a long time ago. That's when we kind of started talking. We've always, kept talking. He actually ended up also being the director of tasting room, of tasting rooms for June Shine. And so he was doing that through all of COVID. But I also was talking to him, and we were doing some fun things, and I started helping him out with his sour brewery that we had filled a bunch of barrels with, but started doing that a little more. And he was actually letting me do a lot of my consulting projects and kind of research and development, small brewing stuff up there. So that's kind of how we started getting into this. And, we were talking one night, it was like, I was kind of talking, I want to eventually do something, maybe look into, eventually I was looking into getting into wine, but I was like, maybe we'll do some. And then, me and Alex were kind of like, well, maybe we'll do something together. And then, we still have the beer brewery, which is called Invoke Brewing and Blending. But, with the license that Alex has for the brewing of beer, we were kind of like, we could do something else as well. So that's when we looked into doing, a more quick turnaround product, getting something we could, kind of build a business around. The sour beer is fun. It just takes a long time to sit in barrels, kind of like wine. And, we were like, oh yeah, let's look into this. We learned about yerba mate just from drinking some of that Goyaki yerba mate, because it's everywhere now.
Yeah,
And
the one in the yellow can.
One in the yellow can, exactly. And some people barely ever know, what the brand is, because it says yerba mate on it, and that's what people know it is, right? And so we kind of saw that thing going everywhere, and I was like, well, everybody's, people are always doing this, right? They took soda water, they turned it into hard seltzer. They took kombucha, they turned it into hard kombucha. So now our idea was, let's see if we can make a hard yerba mate. Speaking of which, that was kind of where it came to me not wanting to do a highly caffeinated one, because I didn't want to make Four Loko again.
Oh God, that's right.
Yeah,
I forgot that was a thing.
That would not be responsible brewing for me. So a lot of steps and kind of taking a lot of research, and development, small batches to find the right level of yerba mate, so you still get the qualities of it, but don't have so much that it's gonna get you all this caffeinated buzz and you're just gonna pass out and do terrible things, right? So we actually got our cans down to about 5 milligrams per can, which 5 milligrams for 12 ounces is really low. A cup of coffee is almost 80 to 120 milligrams. So we're pretty stoked on that. But yeah, that's kind of how we started this. And then, me and Alex were actually, during the pandemic, still looking for a creative person. And thankfully, we had a lot of time to do this, which was nice. And we were developing the product in a lot of time over the pandemic. And we really needed both of us are just not very good at design and, figuring out what we want to do for branding. So we found our third partner, Ryder England, who joined on, and he's kind of an experiential marketer and has done a lot of fun projects. His films, he did a film called The Cycle of Ancestry, which got picked up by REI, where he biked throughout the entirety of Mexico, visiting his buddies' Mayan roots down there. So he joined on and helped us kind of put the brand together. And so that's when we were able to, cool, here we are, like Cove, hard yerba mate. So
yeah,
that was, honestly, the whole pandemic thing was kind of awesome because it gave us the time to do this. But, right now it's been a little bit of a tough time, just because we've kind of got established and we're, getting into this mode where we want to move fast, and we're still kind of in a little bit of a putt move along.
Yeah. How hard is it to, because I'm an excited guy, I know I have an interview with Josh Makler. I'm like, let's rock and roll. But then I got to always tell myself, okay, this is an interview. We got to make sure I'm not rushing through this. How hard was it for you to be patient when it came to growing this business?
It's tough, honestly. There's a lot of moments where you have to find the patience and kind of wait, and it really what it is. There's a lot of patience in working with partners too. Because you have to take a step back and realize that you're not, skilled in those areas or the best in those areas, right? So at those points, you have to be like, okay, this isn't me who's going to get this job done. We need this other person to do it, and we got to give them the time to do it. So I think there's been a lot of patience kind of learned in that aspect. And even right now, there's a lot of patience in us kind of growing the brand and getting to where we are, because we've been, at a point where we kind of want to blow it up, but the world's essentially still in a pandemic, right? Places are still kind of going backwards. Some places are stagnant, trying to move forward, but, everything's still this. So it's, we're kind of learning to take everything with a grain of salt, kind of be like, hey, it's going to get there. We believe in what we're doing, and so at this point, you may see some low looking, moments, but you have to be like, well, things are only going to get better once we're out of a pandemic.
And the light is getting brighter at the end of that tunnel, because vaccines are becoming more, I guess they're becoming more available. And then I think I heard somewhere about a third vaccine potentially on the horizon. So it's, things could be as close to normal as they can be soon, which means that you guys could potentially open up your tasting room a tasting room. Have you thought about like, the layout of it or any of the like interiors, or are you just not there yet to start thinking about it?
No, we actually are working on it right now, which is cool. We got a really cool partnership in what we were doing with our business. So the first thing we were doing is we were brewing our products up at Alex's little kind of small barrel aging facility, and I was getting some of like the first brewing done from a brewery that had a brew house down the right and like kind of like next to us in a warehouse, and then they were brewing it. We'd take over kind of our sweet tea yerba mate base in a tote, and then we would put it in a tank, and we'd do the fermentation in ours. And we were doing that, but we knew we needed to get a brewery to actually launch this product, something with tanks, something with a tasting room. We were looking into doing something up in Oceanside, San Diego, which is up by the military base, probably about an hour from San Diego north. We were actually about 1 week away from signing a lease there, where I, reached out to a good mentor friend of mine whose name is Dennis O'Connor, and he was one of the founders of Thorn Brewing Co. down here in San Diego, and so helped grow that thing super super large. What they're doing, they started in a really small pub in North Park, and then now have a very very large brewing system down in Barrio Logan. So I finally was able to sit down with Dennis and chat with him. We hadn't seen each other a lot during the pandemic. He kind of helped me mentorship through my split from Juneshine and learning kind of how to be a better businessman really in this craft world. And I sat down with him finally 1 week away from the lease, kind of went over everything, told him the details, and he said, well, maybe I can offer you a better deal at my brewery and the other things I'm doing down in San Diego. So, and what he did is came back to us and said, come brew with us here and come operate with us. So right now we're actually positioned in kind of this little conglomerate co-op thing that he has going in San Diego, and we're a part of. So they have Thorn Brewing down in Barrio Logan right next door, because they bought this massive warehouse like 5 years ago. They've actually put in a pizza spot called Hot Mess Pizza. Behind it, they have a speakeasy inside of it called The Boiler. And then even behind that in the warehouse, they actually started their distillery called Rebrew Spirits, which is actually doing rebrew spirits, because what they're doing is they're making sustainable spirits out of all the out of code beer that it was, pretty much going to waste in bars in San Diego. So along with that, they also have a side yard barbecue place on the outside with probably the best pitmaster in San Diego. These are all a lot of plugs, I know, but it's good, right? So what's really cool is kind of what we have down there is, a couple restaurants, some awesome serving facilities for fun party times and alcohol. And then we have a distillery, a brewery, and then, us. And so we are actually operating our productions out of the brewery with them. And, I'm kind of helping them with whatever I can. And they are, helping us with whatever they can, helping us with storage, helping us with, brewing and making our products. And so we've kind of turned this little thing into a conglomerate, which has actually also allowed us get back full circle, the whole tasting room thing somehow. There's luckily a little kind of like side yard space on the side of Thorn in Barrio, which, has like this really cool kind of rustic feel that we're actually going to start turning into our tasting room. So we've been developing some plans to work pretty hard to get that thing up and running. And, with our alternating proprietorship that we have with Thorn, we're going to be able to start operating that pretty quickly. And so I'm actually hoping that within a month, we should have that up and running.
Oh, that's gonna be fun, man.
Exactly. So we've got this fun thing. We're gonna essentially what we're doing. Barrio Logan was kind of not the best place in San Diego, and still really isn't, but is one of those places that's probably getting a little gentrification happening. And so the idea is we're kind of starting this whole thing of this little block of a bunch of things. So there'll be like 4 to 5 concepts right on this little block with some other retail locations going in across the street. And it'll be kind of a fun thing to start in this little cultural area of San Diego that has a lot of Latin influence, which we feel like, Hard Yerba Mate is going to fit right in.
Yeah. And, I've seen some photos of you just behind a bar. This was probably like at your last gig. And I was just like, he looks right at home, just being with people and make sure they are comfortable and just making sure that, they have the drink that they're asking for, and also just make sure they have a great drink. So, I could see you running that tasting room like a general, the
Yeah.
friendly general.
Yeah, thankfully, I actually won't have to do the running of it. Alex is going to run all our taster operations as he's
Oh.
kind of the expert in taste rooms after managing June Shines, formerly Ale Smith. So I'm more of I'll hopefully help set some of the awesome ambiances of it, give my input. But thankfully, we're doing a pretty good job delegating those responsibilities.
How hard is it for you to stay on one task? Because, as a business owner, I assume you have so many things coming at you at once. I mean, I could sort of also talk with you while also looking at the sheet and also writing notes. I could sort of do that somewhat elegantly, but for you to be able to, A, help Alex in the tasting room, and then B, make sure everything gets brewed correctly, and then C, make sure you're also having a life. How do you do it?
It's definitely been pretty tough. I think it's, learning how to delegate, learning how to, understand how other people are working, learning how to, know when what's priority and what's not. I don't think I'll ever know completely how to do all that stuff. But I think, the biggest thing is just, you know, continuing to work hard, continue to kind of push it forward and just, know, like, I guess, belief in you're making the right decisions and that you're kind of moving forward on it. But yeah, it's definitely a tough challenge. I think it's great to have partners to work with that can help you get through all those things. And also, building a work back timeline is the biggest thing I probably learned. It's, starting from, hey, where do we need to get to? Okay, what are those steps to get there? And kind of always having that as kind of, like a goal to get there, and knowing,
Yeah.
what everybody's role in that, and saying, okay, cool, I don't have to understand that, like I don't have to deal with that. That's not my plate, which is awesome, which is hard to do as well. Cause you're sometimes business owner, you want to, oh, I want to control everything. But when you can actually step back and be like, oh, I don't have to deal with that. And then it gets done. And you're like, oh, cool. That worked.
Yeah.
That's probably the best feeling.
Yeah, like spinning it to some people that aren't business owners, school, because you have those group projects. It's like, I'm trusting you to get your part done. You got your job, you got your part done. Cool. I trust you. Let's rock and roll and move and work together again down the road. But then there's also, those potential partners or just potential employees who are like, you just didn't do anything.
I think
What's going on?
I think there's a a saying from actually one of the CEO of JuneShine, who I learned a little bit from too, which is, a business is a it's interesting. You want to call a lot of things a family, but a business is a team. And the difference between a team and a family is, a team has to rely on everybody to get their job done, right? A family is going to pick you up no matter what, and when you're down, and they're going to always help you on your feet. It's kind of hard to do that on a team because if they're not helping the team, they're not pulling their weight, they're not pulling the rope, well, a little detrimental to the team, right? And
A little
so
bit, yeah.
sometimes you get released or traded, and that's what happens. So it's a little bit of an interesting way. I mean, like when everybody's doing their work, you love your teammates, but sometimes it gets a little brutal, I guess.
Yeah, especially if that family member is an older brother that just constantly reminds you, like, "Hey, remember that one time you screwed up?" Just make sure it's back of your head. I was like, "Okay, great, love you too, love you too." So this your journey that we've kind of covered so far, going from Sunset High School football all the way going to California and doing all these baseball things, and now business owner twice. Now, what has been the most, it's there was been the biggest sacrifice that you've had to give up to make sure that you are still pursuing these dreams? Because I understand, like, work and personal life, they can sometimes be at war with each other. What was a time where personal or where work life won in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's been a lot of personal life stuff that's you kind of have to sacrifice sometimes, and I think I've gotten better at managing that. But I think it's just honestly, it's kind of just in general thing. It's understand, it's trying to manage your relationship and your personal life with work, and I think it's definitely been a sacrifice in trying to start businesses and taking long hours and working long nights, and being there overnight. I've probably slept at breweries overnight sometimes, and that's, can be rough. But I think it's something you have to learn and you have to grow from. I probably wish 100% I, was better at it. and was better at it from the start. But, I'm really happy about getting better at it now, and it's kind of, you always have to realize when, time for the work to stop and kind of let it go a little bit, which probably still really not good at, it's like, oh, don't answer that email right now. But I should
Yeah.
know. So it's all that. But I think that's the biggest thing. It's, it's balance, and, there's a lot of sacrifice when trying to start something, and, you're like, oh, I gotta keep working to make sure these buttons are pushed and everything's, pushing that needle, keep sewing that thread. But, that's the sacrifice. And, I think as long as you learn from it and you grow and you get better, I think that's where you can succeed. And once you kind of get a little more into that and get, really good at that balance, I actually think your work honestly gets better too.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got engaged back in October 2019 to a woman named Canella, which she is somewhere in the back of your camera somewhere. How big was her support when it came to you pursuing your dreams?
Her support is continually amazing. I mean, it's been probably the one thing that has, been able to me to kept going, and be able to, now open another business of my own, and, start to work hard on this. Everything that she does in supporting me, and, everything she does just, around our place, taking care of our dog Zwickel when he's here. We have a 2-year-old German short hair pointer who is just an absolute mayhem causer. And that's just, been the most awesome thing for me. So like really what it is I know I work a lot. And so it's, it's kind of comes down to, I'll wake up early just to make sure that I, reset and clean the house in the morning before I go to work. And so it's been an absolute just amazing thing being able to have someone that, kind of partners with you on that sense and still gets her, work life done as well.
Yeah, because I assume the little things that you're able to do, they do just add up. Just instead of leaving your plate in the sink, just do a quick rinse and throw it in the dishwasher. I'm sure that goes a long way just because dishes suck.
Exactly. And she's had to deal with a lot of long nights and partying, I'd say. So that's she's also had to learn that kind of aspect of everything too. And that she's much smaller than me, so maybe can't handle it as well.
I know I can no longer handle those long party nights at college. I'm tired, man. I get to like 10ish. I'm just like, whoo, doggy. Why am I still up?
Exactly. Now I need my Topo Chico every now and then. A good little liver break. Little soda water is great.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I know I've been getting really into tea, but with you, I'll dabble in some yerba mate. Finally, figure out what the big deal is because my brother's a big drinker of that very popular yellow can. So I'm just like, I don't know what it's about, but I'll give it a shot.
Oh, you'll know soon. We're gonna send some up to you.
So earlier you mentioned that you want to make a trip back up to the Pacific Northwest, and I would be beating myself up if I don't ask you at least about the Portland MLB Diamond Project. Have you kept up with it? Do you know what's going on?
I haven't. I know it's always been a thing. I mean, I think they've always tried to get the teams. They've always been trying to get a team whenever someone's moving. I think they never succeeded, but like I explained to me because it seems like maybe they're gonna get one. We'll see.
It's been like a smorgasbord of like maybe, maybe not, maybe not. And then with all of the protests that happened during the Black Lives Matter movement, I think I heard somewhere that they're backing out, but I could be wrong. But for you, and obviously you're in California where there's baseball teams all up and down that whole state. What would it mean for you to see that your home state got a professional baseball team?
I think it'd be pretty cool, honestly. It'd be really cool to see baseball back up in Portland. I mean, it was really cool to have, even the Timbers come in and take over that kind of area and stadium, and actually get a professional team playing soccer in that kind of area. And so, you know, I, I think the fans would love it. I think Portland's a real baseball town. There's a lot of love for the Ducks and the Beavers and all the other teams up there, and so I think they're ready for it. I used to go to a lot of Hillsboro Hops games when I would have a little time at summer back at home, out in Hillsboro, and those are a lot of fun. So I think it's a real baseball town. I think the kind of like mood of Portland and kind of fits it. Real laid back. Kind of sit around. Maybe some of them will read a book and have their coffee while they're at the game. But
Not even pay attention to what's going on. Just read their book and drink some coffee.
exactly. I mean, they're already doing that. So, maybe I think they'd really fit kind of that kind of Portland feeling, and kind of like there's a little bit of like this, fast paced, slow pace in Portland. So I think it'll fit it.
Yeah, I think I heard like they were thinking about picking or transferring the Oakland A's up to Portland, and that would be our team. But obviously, COVID and everything else, I'm for it. I think it'll be cool. Another professional team outside of the Blazers and the Timbers to, just represent that Portland.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So
we'll see. Maybe we'll get them.
maybe, just I think if we, rally hard enough. So I'm going to need you to come back up here and just, set up a tent right outside of the headquarters of Portland Diamond Project, and then we'll just rally.
Exactly. Well, I'm looking to eventually, and there's one idea that I'll eventually come up to, back to Portland and live up there eventually. We'll see if everything works out.
Yeah. All right, man. So I like to end my interviews with asking a couple questions from this packet of 170 hypothetical questions. Just something fun. Think as much as you want, think as little as you want. But yeah, you're only in 2. So if you want the whole 170, we can make that happen. That'll just be another episode because that could take easily an hour and a half. But so my first question to you is, if you could put wings on any species of animals, what animal would you choose? So if you could put wings on any species of animal, what animal would you choose?
I think I'd put on a hippo because I think it'd be really funny to see them land with their short legs. I feel like they'd just fall on their bellies.
That's true. I mean, they're very stubby, their little legs.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if they'd be able to land. I think it'd just kind of be like a plop.
Yeah, and then like the whole earth shake a little bit. That's a whole lot of earthquakes.
It'd be kind of like a graceful plop, though.
Yeah. I think
little wings, just really mini ones.
Yeah, I mean, just that picture alone, giant hippo with small wings and somehow flying through the air.
Can't fly, more like an ostrich, just kind of flutters.
Just can glide. Let's bring Dumbo to real life. Let's put some wings on some elephants. Just like, it'll be fun for you to just see them shake the whole ground.
Yeah.
All right. So my second question is that if you could be invisible, but it would mean being permanently invisible, would you want to be invisible?
I mean, that'd be quite a shift in life to go through. No, I don't think I would do that because I think my fiance would miss me.
Yeah. I hope she heard that.
I don't know if you heard it.
There are times where I'm like, maybe it'd be kind of nice to like just be invisible that way. Like if I wanted to just, I don't know, do something stupid and then just disappear. But then I also think of the movie Invisible Man, the one that came out recently. I'm like, no.
It's a lot to deal with. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of factors really go into that. It's like,
it depends on how good makeup's gotten in a few years,
That's true. Oh, did you ever? I think there was an Invisible Man with Kevin Bacon back in the early 90s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably the original one, right?
Yeah. That one, I remember watching that when I was younger. Kind of scared me.
Exactly.
Josh Makler, where can the people find you on social media?
Well, you could follow my tag, which is JJ Makler, Makler. But please go and follow some of the businesses that I've worked for and kind of what I'm doing, which is at Kove, KOVE Yerba Mate. Or as well, you can go and follow Juneshine Co., which is Zero Former Hard Kombucha that I still have a lot of love for. But yeah, go and give them a follow, see what we're about. We're kind of trying to take the world by storm with the world's, one of the world's first alcoholic yerba mate beverage products. So I can give a little shameless plug with the cans right here too.
There it is. There you go. What flavors are we looking at right now?
Here we have a mojito flavor, which is just spearmint and lime, and then a mango colada, which is mango and coconut.
Ooh, that's exactly what it is. That's what it needs to be. Just the mango, coconut, and the hard yerba mate.
Super simple brewing with transparent and real products. Not messing around with any fake stuff. everything you use is real fruit added to everything. So we're, kind of working against the grain of a lot of natural flavoring and extract products that are made, and trying to show that, hey, alcohol can be transparent. You can know what you're putting in body.
Yeah, especially now where health and fitness is such a huge thing. And I just remember seeing, I don't know, like in movies where there's a bar in the actual gym, and, having this Hardy Bramante, at least people that just got done running and working out can feel better about just,
Exactly. I mean, such a big movement on we know what we eat. So let's like get that movement of we know what we drink too.
oh, there you go. Now that is a line to end on.
Thank you so much for sticking around until the end of the episode. If you like what you heard or watched and would like more episodes from Keoni Chats, the show can be found on all major podcast platforms under Keoni Chats. A video version is available on YouTube under Keoni Chats as well. So like and subscribe on those platforms to keep in the loop as far as the next episode released. But if you would like to be a guest, go ahead and email me your story at kcmedia13@yahoo.com, and I'd love to get you scheduled. To keep up to date with all of the episode release announcements on social media, the KC Media brand can be found on Instagram and Twitter under KC Media 13. And then on Facebook, it can be found under Conluke Media. So until the next episode, everyone, please take care.